All right. Hello, 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 fellow growth enthusiasts. This is a show for CEOs, for VCs, for chief revenue officers, and for chief marketing officers as we talk about growth. Growth for B2B tech companies and growth for our community as a whole. I'm Brett Sklar, managing partner at Grow Powerful, where we've assembled the greatest growth minds in all of B2B technology. And I'm here with the show producer, marketing manager, and marketing ops magician, Anna Anderson. This is going to be less gritty than the last show we talked about. Last show, we talked about the abundance of all the fake fractional chief marketing officers that are out there. Since that show, I've probably received 20 to 30 different Google alerts about companies offering fractional chief marketing officer services when they are actually agencies. So once again, Surgeon's General warning, stay the hell away from those. They won't give you the results that you need. If you haven't listened to it yet, you definitely should. This show is really designed to talk to CEOs and investors. And if you're a full-time or a fractional CMO, I think you're going to still get a lot of good insight, but I'm going to be sharing ideas for and from the perspective of the CEOs I've been working with. Quick programming note, we're live streamed, we're on our podcast, our YouTube channel, our blog, we're basically everywhere. We even added a LinkedIn newsletter to our repertoire, and I hope you get to check it out. If you have questions or comments, we're listening in the feeds no matter where you are listening to the show. So let's dive in. The topic of today is exploring a full-time versus a fractional chief marketing officer and figuring out which is right for you. This is a question I'm asked to speak about for CEO or leadership conferences. And it's actually a simple question with not such a simple set of answers to answer the question. There is no question that there's exponential growth in the demand for fractional CMOs, especially for B2B tech companies. It makes a lot of sense, but at the same token, it's not for everybody. So let's break down who might be a good fit for it, who might be a bad fit for it, and when you should use a fractional chief marketing officer versus a full-time chief marketing officer. And if you're impatient and you just want the TLDR, here's two general rules of thumb. Number one, most B2B tech companies will grow more efficiently with a fractional CMO. That is very true. That is a fact. Number two, as a guardrail, I only recommend full-time CMOs for companies who are doing at least 50 million in revenues and are expecting 20% or more growth per year. So let's dive into who is a good fit for a full-time CMO. But first, I thought I'd share a story that I hear all too often in my conversations with CEOs. And this actually happens a lot with companies who are smaller than $50 million and may have been told by someone, maybe somebody on their board, maybe an investor, maybe a friend or a peer. They told the CEO they need to hire a CMO. If you're going to grow, if you're going to scale, get a CMO. This is especially the case in SaaS companies and those who are trying to deploy some type of product-led growth where they believe that the product and a well-executed marketing strategy can do more than what an entire leadership team can do. So then they hire the CMO. The CMO is highly recommended, may have come from a larger company and helped that company grow, has earned their ego, and is coming in with big, grand, and brandtastic ideas. The idea versus the reality, though, is quite different. The CMO and their big ideas of branding and world domination through a clever campaign is quickly replaced with the need for better sales enablement tools. The CMO and their grand vision of a killer brand are pulled away and asked to use the budget for hiring SDRs, or sales development reps, lead generation specialists, and other tactical programs, with the promise that the big brand budget will come as soon as the sales pipeline problem is fixed. No one is happy, and the results show it. This is probably a very good reason why in 2019, the average lifespan of a CMO was about 19 months. And even more so in 2022, the average lifespan of a chief marketing officer has become, wait for it, 15 months on average. In a very short amount of time, the average lifespan of a CMO has gone down by 4 months. So why does this happen? Again, for companies that are trying to hire full-time CMOs, there's a bunch of reasons why. It could be poor CMO fit. The chief marketing officer that has big, grandiose, brandtastic ideas may not have an interest or be able to handle a lot of the tactics. It may be that the CEO does not understand the need to invest in marketing, and so that CMO may be set up for failure. It could be that it's a CEO that prefers brute force sales and would rather double down on great salespeople all day long instead of fancy marketing campaigns. It also may be that they're CEOs that don't feel like their culture or processes are aligned for a large team, and therefore they're looking for smaller or less people involved. You see, CEOs need expectations set and delivered upon. And marketers, especially chief marketing officers, are some of the worst at managing those expectations. So then let's imagine a CEO who pushes back and says that while the skill set of a CMO is needed, it's not needed on a full-time basis. So a fractional CMO is in order. The company can get a more proven and battle-tested CMO at a fraction of the cost and is only used as needed instead of locked into a full-time basis. You may not know this, but most marketers, we actually go into marketing instead of sales or instead of development or instead of finance because we really love to chase the new, fresh, interesting ideas. We love to embrace our inability to stay focused on one topic for a long time. And having one of us focus on one company, one product, and one thing full time is kind of like the Antichrist for chief marketing officer. So it is actually a better alignment of a fractional CMO to actually work on multiple companies, work on multiple endeavors, and give a lot of their attention to one company for a period of time before they can context switch and go to another type of client engagement. It's just a lot more fun, and it's how we are wired and how we desire to do things. So when you use a fractional CMO, and I'm talking to you CEOs and investors, when you use a fractional CMO, there's a lot less ego brought to the table. And that ego is replaced with confidence. There's no longer the interdepartmental battles that happens in B2B technology companies of sales versus marketing. The work is the focus. Everybody wins. So, who is a good fit for a full-time CMO? Well, if you're a company doing more than $50 million in revenue, has a solid brand, has identified what marketing programs work, your pipeline process is dialed, and you really just need to scale, optimize, and focus in on marketing operations, then you need a full-time CMO. So let's dive into each of those. Why $50 million? Well, in my experience, companies that are less than $50 million who are still trying to are the ones who are still trying to figure out how do we scale our growth. And a full-time CMO for a company that's $50 million or more has a lot of that figured out, and they know the type of chief marketing officer that they need or the right type of marketing leadership that they need. Anything less than that, and it's a lot of guesswork. Why do you need to have a solid brand to bring in a full-time CMO? Well, like I said, CMOs like to do bright, shiny object type things. We like to try out more stuff. If you've got a solid brand, it really does force the CMO to focus on marketing operations and marketing scalability. Why is it that they already have to have identified the right marketing programs? Well, a CMO that's really designed for a $50 million plus company has the ability to take existing marketing programs and double down on them and make them bigger, faster, and stronger, which is what a company in a 50 million plus range needs. So then why does the company need to have a solid pipeline process in place already? Because if you bring in a full-time CMO and they are operations driven and they are results driven, which they should be, then they should not be trying to figure out how to build a sales pipeline with the head of sales and the head of marketing together. It should be figured out. And there is a lot of room for improvement and enhancement, but there should already be some type of solid sales pipeline in place. So then why is a full-time CMO just for the companies who want to scale, optimize, and focus on marketing ops? Well, it's really a personality fit. The CMOs that want to help develop a brand, that want to do a lot of the exciting things to start from zero, to build things from the ground up, they're not going to do well at the companies that need more focus, more operations, more optimization. It's just a personality fit issue. And in my mind, everybody else is a great fit for a fractional CMO. And it's really something that you should look into. Now, that's the end. That's the main point of my topic. That's what I wanted to cover, as sort of the mindset and the thoughts and examples of full-time CMOs versus fractional CMOs. So if you've enjoyed this, great, we'll let you go. If you want us to answer the question of how to find a fractional CMO, then I'm going to talk to you about what we do, because what we do, I believe, I truly feel, is better than anybody else out there at finding fractional CMOs for emerging B2B technology companies. We have a system, we have a process, we have a methodology to find fractional chief marketing officers that we call ICMOs. And we find people that have operational experience as a full-time CMO for emerging tech companies, not only have a great track record, but they've had at least one strong and solid successful exit under their belt. That's important because I want people on the Grow team as ICMOs who know how to get companies to not necessarily exiting, but building a solid program that is so excellent that people want to buy it. Whether the leadership, the investors want to sell it or not, that's another thing. Our ICMOs have been battle tested to know how to weave between the strategy and the tactics and to give you something to show for it. And that is incredibly important. This isn't just brand standards. This isn't a playbook. This is the strategy and the tactical execution to get things done. We have a good sized group of ICMOs. It'll grow, but we've actually got a really good base right now. And so as needs change or evolve for a company, we can work within our network to identify different people that bring different strengths to support the growth needs at a certain time for a company. So then what can you do? Well, first is ask yourself, do you need a full-time CMO, or is a fractional CMO a good alternative to consider? It's a culture question. It's a question, do you really need another chief? How does your sales and marketing align? Can you get by with a fractional leader? Right now is the best time to have a fractional chief marketing officer. I've got a lot of CMOs who are frustrated as a result, and what's created the Great Resignation, and they're coming my way in droves to want to work with Grow. Also, it's important to understand: are you a sales or a market or a product-driven company? If you're a product-driven company or a sales-driven company, that's great. You probably don't need a full-time CMO. You need a fractional CMO that will work either under the chief operations, under the CEO, or even work with the chief revenue officer or VP of sales. You don't need to sign up for long-term engagements. Again, we at Grow, and apologize if you heard this over and over, we don't believe in long-term engagements. Nobody needs to be locked into something. And then the other thing is, do your research. Are they really a fractional CMO? Are they people who have been CMOs? Or are they agencies who have gone to a class that have learned that if you say that you're a fractional CMO, you should be able to charge more? And that's bullshit. But that happens a lot. So then we get into a couple of questions about managing a fractional CMO versus a full-time CMO, how to find them, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll save a lot of the in-depth in that arena, but I do want to cover managing a fractional CMO. In my experience, the fractional CMOs who have had great success with their clients is when the fractional CMO acts more as the consigliere that also can handle operations, meaning somebody that can look at your business just as much as being inside of your business, that works with other members of the leadership team, as well as with the CEO, and knows how to manage resources, whether those resources are internal or external to your company. I talk mostly about B2B, and so I get the question, well, what about, B2C or D2C, direct to consumer? And it's very different in the consumer realm. In the consumer realm, the chief marketing officer plays a very different role and is at the core of the execution. Whereas in B2B, there's a triad of the sales, of product, and of marketing that really drive effective results. So that's it. That's the show. That's us talking about the idea of looking at fractional versus full-time chief marketing officers. If you like this, or you want to learn more about this, we'll have a blog post about it and a lot more content to share. Visit us at growpowerful.io. We've got a resources tab there that's got tons of information. Subscribe to the Grow Up with Grow show on your favorite podcast. We're on pretty much every podcast application you can imagine. We're on LinkedIn as a newsletter. Subscribe to that. We have some amazing content that comes through there. And then search for us on YouTube, because I guess people like to look at me every once in a while, and I don't know why, but we're there as well. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Hope you get growing, and we'll talk to you soon.